All right, guys, big power clap. All right, how y'all doing today? Good? Yes? Good? Yeah? How did class go on Saturday? Good? Everybody learned? Did a little collaboration with GitHub, I heard. That was pretty fun, huh? Did a little fun stuff with that? Good. Well, I just got back from Vegas about 30 minutes ago. So I'm all totally rested, ready to go. So it'll be a day of no mistakes, I guarantee it. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to get into storage, right? We're going to get into persistence and storage. It sounds kind of scary, but it's really not, right? So we're basically, all of the applications that we've done thus far have been limited within the scope of what they are, right? So we build trivia apps, we build games, we've done all this stuff. Today we're going to learn about how to store data in the browser in order to retrieve it later on, right? So if you have a game where someone's that has a score, we can, after today, you'll be able to have the machine remember that score. The next time they sign on to their computer, go to your app, it'll remember what their score was from the last time. So that's the kind of thing we're going to learn today. It's going to be a persistence that hangs on the browser, right? So with that, we're going to cover 3 different types of client-side data storage, and I promise you I'm going to go in a lot more detail about this, all right? But we're going to cover local storage, right? Session storage, and cookies, okay? So we're on a bunch of Oreos, and we're going to eat them. So yeah, and we're going to start here, working with the local storage. Second half of the class, maybe a bit before break, we'll get to session storage, and then last half we'll handle cookies. So we're going to build a semi-complex application that takes advantage of local storage, and it maintains content between browser sessions, right? Meaning it remembers it the next time you come back to your application. All right, questions to begin with? Anybody? Not yet? Okay. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, I did want to say, since we are kind of, this week is all about persistence. So today we're going to do all this client-side stuff, which are those 3 methods that we're going to discuss. Wednesday and Saturday, we're going to cover more of the back-end storage. So we're going to use things like Firebase that'll actually hold it outside of the browser, more in a server. So first, today, client-side, Wednesday and Saturday, server-side. So today's going to be the only day that we get to discuss this stuff. All right, you guys ready to move on with it? Big power clap. Yeah. All right, so let's do this. Let's jump into it. Let's get into groups of, I don't know, 3 or 4. You guys can? 3 or 4 if it works, whatever. And what we're going to do is we're going to, first off, do something that's basically not using the storage sensor. So we're just kind of using an example of a to-do list that isn't going to be persistent in any way. It's just going to be a to-do list. We're going to learn how to populate it and check things off. So if we could Slack out the to-do list, not the solved version, but the unsolved one. Yeah, and then yeah, so I can show you what it's going to look like if you guys want. All right, it's going to look something like this. Get gas, go home. That's my to-do list. All right. Then when I want to check things off, I can go, okay, I got gas. Now I'm going to go home. That's it. That's the to-do list. Pretty simple. All right. So you guys want to team up and get together with that, discuss how you're going to do it. Never a little pseudocode, never hurt. And then we'll move on to the next part of this. Okay, guys, we'll jump into it. Go big power clap. raise your hand if you haven't figured out teams. Well, I'll let you guys look at it first individually if you want to. But get in teams right after. Oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. Yeah. So we got to quote. Where is supervisor? All right. Variable. I can't as long as oh, this you can try. No. Oh,
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Just you two. You're done yeah. All right. Oh, you look at like so.
I May I join? No offense. So it is. Okay. For you, so where are we at?
Yes. Does that make sense? You should get so I think just set up so you have to take, so you can use ATR. Well, we saw it.
No, that's a regular JavaScript. But it's like that now. Sorry, you were right. Just stop the AL.
I think you did that on. So you can use
Yeah. That has the idea. Concern. So,
like, why is it like I'm pouring through it? I think that's the thing that's very I know it's just seems so weird. I wasn't trying to create it also worked.
Yeah.
And you just have to get used to expect, window expector.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you start getting lazy thinking.
So we'll do.
Yeah. So I think that's just because we're restoring our system.
And then, yeah,
It's expensive.
I don't think. They're very well could be, yeah. Work out. So, right before that. So the actual content of the so you can so it'll do the text that'll actually appear in the button, I guess.
So the guy it'll have when that button is oh, well, I don't think you're saying
That's like reason just like this is oh, you want to add
set this up, bro.
So yeah, we're adding classes. So I tend to take certain classes. I forget what that is. I guess we get that. Oh, yeah, just do it. Yeah, but it's not. So we gotta make. Or do we make those?
So it's the ID.
Like, yeah, radio.
Yeah, so it's kind of two other things. One other thing we want to do for each of those paragraphs, I guess, is all one is basically already set the idea of whatever paragraph we have. It's going to be whatever.
So they're saying.
So you could set
So first is the item 0. So, okay, it's okay. One more time. So, what we're going to do is we're saying 0. You're saying you're saying,
yeah.
Where do we add? Oh, wait.
so you want to use it.
But it looks like the key. So you just do like the to-do list. Plus equal.
Yeah.
Oh, so like that's.
I say yes. Okay. So you know how I need SRC is action on the internet. But then the package you need to be the value of the source action at the time that you can. That's what we're doing. I don't know. No one's gonna be sitting there like, Right? And then the storage is just making it work.
Yeah, work with
See if that's.
guys, we'll take about 5 more minutes.
You want to combine it, right? So
No, you can use, you can just use that.
Yeah,
So do that.
Or like, same thing. Or actually, like do the same thing that you did with that. But just over, yeah.
So does this make sense?
Or it was the
We're gonna create so the first time you click on that button, we're making a paragraph, we're adding action to it.
I got just two more minutes. 2 more minutes.
whatever you like, document signing, we just need to.
This would be the jQuery. It's gonna be basically the same beginning. Yes.
Create a button, take that variable, add that variable.
Oh, it's gonna be the same number as
Around some
All right, guys, let's call it. Let's regroup. All right, guys, big power clap. All right, so what are some struggles we ran into as a group? Does anyone want to volunteer? What are some struggles that we ran into? All right, who completed the app successfully? What any groups successfully completed the app? One group? Right? So yeah, it was pretty tough. So what are some challenges we ran into in that amount of time, right? Knowing what to use when, right? What else you guys run into? Anyone want to volunteer? Creating a text box? Clearing the text box. Yeah. Yeah.
There were a lot of things named really simple.
The to-do and to-dos?
Yeah.
Yeah, that tripped me up too, actually. Yeah, that is tricky. Yeah, try to rename, use this as a lesson to go, okay, I'm not going to do this way when I make my own apps. Right, that's good. Anything else you guys ran into? Anybody want to volunteer? Where it just says object? Yeah, what did you do to solve it? You're displaying it to the page, right? And you're expecting it to show up as an object?
Yeah.
Well, stringify it, right? Or you could put it out to the console log alone, and then they'll show up as the object and you can parse it out that way, right? But we'll get into some of that stuff too. Stringify, you know, remember that from last? That was a while ago, yeah. All right, so let's just walk through it real quick. I just want to speed through it. Can you guys to the back see this? I realize I can't have my font super big or I can't see a thing. Can you guys in the back see it okay? Sir Ray?
Yeah.
I'll maybe able to step up one. Either way? This is fine for me. Yeah, this is good. All right. We're getting into so much code now that it's like starting to. Cool. So did anybody do something like this? You guys remember this one? Where would we get the value, and then what does this one do? I think that's probably a good idea, right? We're gonna make a task list, make it nice and clean. Did anybody do a prevent default, or that was in the code maybe? Is it the code? Yeah. Not necessary either way, but it's probably good practice, right? Because it's a submit button or an actual href that we're using or something. We wanted not to take its inherent event. We want to just create our own. So it's good practice. So in this example, right, we created a paragraph tag. That's what I did. We did I just assigned an attribute to the an ID. We created our own ID. So each one would have its own, right? We set the to-do value to 0 at the beginning. So every time it's clicked, right, this is going to start off at 0. So the first item ID would be 0, and then every time it clicks, you can see at the bottom, we're adding another one. Okay. What's another fun thing we ran into with this one? This here. So a lot of you didn't get to this part of it, but once we hit the checkbox, right, we can create a whole different thing. This is remove, right? What does that do? It's rid of it, right? So we can call any element by ID or by class or by anything and just cut it out, right? I think there'd be other ways to do this. This is the cleanest way, you know. This is different from empty. How? Anybody? Remember empty?
Empty is removed.
Here's the values.
Yes, both right. Clears the value like within a text box, right? That would be a good thing to use where on this example? Maybe in place of this, right? Oh, shoot, that's at the bottom. Sorry. Yeah, right. This might be kind of sloppy in a sense, right? This is kind of like, oh, set it to 0. That does the exact same thing of me saying, I want to empty this out, right? So essentially the same thing. So empty, remove, using different ways. See, I wonder what else I want to discuss with this. Oh, the to-do count. Yeah, you guys we went over that. Oh, did anybody have problems with creating the dynamic elements? That's kind of tricky. How many, fist of 5, who got the creating the dynamic elements, got it to work right? Fist of 5, we all got it. You're 100% comfortable with it? Or 3? Yeah, this is tricky. This takes practice to know when and where to do this, right? A lot of times you're like, well, are all the elements on the page available to me or not? So that's something you can kind of get in the discovery phase of pseudocode, right? You say, okay, what do I have available to me? What am I going to need? I might need a paragraph tag, right? I might need a button for the checkbox. I might need this stuff. Someone's got to create it. Someone's got to tell it where to go, right? The pseudo phase is a really good place to handle it. Right.
How much can we string in?
What do you mean?
We're talking about stringing massive stuff in one line.
That's an excellent question. Sure. Yeah. You know, and I gotta say that. No, I mean, yeah. Are you talking about best practices? Yeah, you certainly you could string this all together if you wanted to, for simplicity and for easy reading. It really depends on the situation, right? I could certainly say dot attribute up here. I can certainly do that. But you know, if I'm walking through steps and I work with this group too over here, it's kind of like it's easier if you say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. If you want to come back and make your code a little more dry, clean it up a little bit, then you can do that. But make the working version first. You know, that's how you got. Go ahead, man.
Can I just show how we do this chaining a lot, like where I work. We do a lot of unit testing. We'll have like 10 or 15 of these methods that are strapped on one of them. So we'll have something like a variable, right, which would be like to do item, and then what we do is indent underneath it and do our method, right?
Yeah.
And then so that's one call. Then underneath that we do our next method, right? That way it's very easy to read. We know that all of these events or all these methods are being applied in one variable. This is the way you indent it. It's much easier to read. Some people will go, you know, variable and then dot method, dot method, dot method. But if you have a whole bunch, it's really hard to read.
Right.
And it's much less repetitive than just saying to do dot something, to do dot something on the next line.
Right. Right. And this obviously looks a lot cleaner. And if you want to change a variable one place, I can just change it here. I don't have to change it in several.
Yeah.
So this is what it's talking about. Is this example right here? It all depends on the usage of what you want to do. For the terms of kind of where we're at right now, we don't have to overcomplicate things. If it is more complicated, I don't know. Yeah, but certainly if you want to daisy chain them like that, do what you're comfortable with. It's more important that you get it to work than it is to make it super dry at this point. All right. Questions, guys? About that? Don't focus too much on it if it's weird. I mean, but yeah, this is basically the same as me doing this, right? Good, but that looks a little more overwhelming, right? Maybe for some of us. All right. Okay. Questions, guys? About that? No? Oh yeah. Hey, let's do that. Yeah. Hey, can we Slack out the solution to that? And that actually, if we're gonna go back to this, so if you're comfortable using your code, if you have finished code, you can use that. If you have unfinished code, use the solved version going forward in the class today, because it's going to be an easier starting point for what we're doing in the next phases. We're going to start actually getting into the persistent storage stuff. So it's good to have a good base to start with. So you get a chance to select that? Sweet. Don't pay attention to it much right now. Just know that that's something we're going to use going forward. All right, sweet. Oh, you know what? Let's before I do that. All right. So in my example, if I said get gas, go shopping, oops, whatever, go home. Okay. What happens when I hit refresh on my browser? Everything clears, right? Why? Anybody know why when I hit refresh, everything goes away? Yeah. Nothing's. Right. And nothing knows what we don't tell it, right? So we don't know, it doesn't know where to pull this from if I did have a place, right? It doesn't live anywhere right now. It's just a temporary place, right? So I hit refresh and it totally clears out. I have to restart my to-do. So the exercise says everybody build, actually, yes. Everybody use the solved or your own if it's working and do a checklist here. You just bring it up in your browser just to make sure y'all can do it and get it set up. So the Slack version that was set up, can you bring it up in your browser as a solved and bring up your own to-do checklist. It says to add 15 items, just add 5. Anybody have any trouble bringing up the solved version of that in your browser? Got it? Everybody good? Anybody not have it? Okay. Okay, so just add a few items there. All right. Okay. Now everybody have all their items up on their screen? Yes? Everybody with me? Okay. Hit refresh. Let's see. Yep. It went away. Oh no. Yeah. All right. So we can temporarily store the data user, right? The browser, the client side, and we can also store it externally somewhere on a database or another server someplace, right? So when we come back, it's there again, right? So like I said earlier, today we're going to cover the client side of the storage of data. Right? We're not going to worry about the data, storing it on a database or server or otherwise on another place until Wednesday and Saturday. Okay, so moving on. Let's do a sign-on page without persistence again. We're gonna fill out the JavaScript code necessary. Do this in your groups again. That's just because. But what we're gonna do is just make a page, save the user inputs, and then redisplay them on the second panel. So you'll see what I mean when you look at the instructions. Don't worry about using the client-side saving just yet, but focus on the text beside the input, displaying the HTML. Basic input, display. That's all it is. Pretty basic. Right. Then we'll do something fun with it. Did you guys Slack out? wait till I hear the ding. The collective ding and a moo or whatever you have going on with yours. So,
That sounds like a monkey.
there it is. That was a what? Oh.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Is it out? You guys get it? Awesome. All right, real quick. We're not going to spend a lot of time with this. Real fast. You guys see at the board, this is kind of what we want to achieve here. So this is kind of showing the example. That's all we're doing. We're just taking the information, putting it on the page. That's it. Nothing fancy. We're going to wrap up with this in about 3 minutes, so we're just going to go real quick. Yeah. All right. How are you guys? Who's wrapped up with it? Like fist of 5? This should be a pretty quick little exercise. Okay, you're about there. Okay, just a couple more minutes.
I think well, one of us has a submit on it, you know.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's weird. That's it must be just a process.
Just to kind of ensure that you
Yeah. What's is there some evolution? So weird here, but how many websites give much of
I don't know, but at least this way we want to see it in other code. True.
If there's a lot, then all it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it's good to kind of, talk. That's why, I'm sure that's why they talk about it. Because the thing is, we haven't really talked about forms, like you talked a little bit about form elements, but not forms and how to submit that.
Yeah, no, I just said that every time I get to. That's right. All right, guys. Real quick, did you guys wrap it up? If not, we're gonna send out the solved version of it anyway. How many got it? Raise your hand. If you haven't, no big deal. We'll skip by it. Okay, I want to take a step back. Okay. Let's talk about it for a minute. What do you guys think in your groups are some advantages of storing data client side, or what's some advantages of storing it not client side? You know, in a server or on a database or server side, not on the other side. What are some advantages? Can anybody give me some advantages of why you want to store client side first? Okay.
Doesn't slow your system down.
Doesn't slow your system down?
Like if you have saving a bunch of data.
Sure. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Yeah.
Minimize the amount of time.
Say, yeah, right. Yeah, sure. Sure. That's a good advantage of the client. It's right there, so you go. You don't have to go anywhere to get it. Yeah. Anybody else? Rob?
Oh, it's quick to access.
Quick to access. Okay. What would be some disadvantages of storing something right on the browser?
You don't have the backup somewhere else.
No backup. Okay. What's another one? Everybody here, Virginia? She's quiet in the front, so I don't think I'm the only one that can hear. It wasn't the right answer. She's 100% right. Yeah. What I mean, geez, you store it locally. Anybody can see it, right? Anybody has access to it, even if it's encoded, it's hashed, it's encrypted. If it's client side, right? You can unhash it, you can uncrypt it, you can, you know what I mean? So storing data is never secure on the client side. Even with the sign-on page, imagine you had somebody's username and a password and stored it locally, right? Well, where does it live? Local, right? So if it's in a local storage session, right? So the next person that goes on the library that goes to your website, oh hey, look, there's something on this computer. Oh, it's a username and password that this last guy had, right? I mean, it's right there in the computer, it's stored there, right? So that would be some disadvantages. All right. Cool, very cool.
So
yeah, that's not
like your computer actually like to remember the login and stuff. Is that essentially saving it to your local?
Yes and no. I mean, so if you ask it to remember your name, generally that's saved in a cookie, or that's held there. The browser handles a lot of this functionality. So sometimes it's a keychain or something that's said with your Mac that'll hold a username and password. Sometimes it's
the computer versus the
generally it depends. Yeah, most of the time that kind of thing is handled on the operating system or in the browser level. If a website said, you know, do you want to remember this password, and there's like a checkbox, then it's the computer remembering that the last time you logged in, it records maybe your IP or it stores a cookie just to know that you're the last person that was on there. Banks, you'll see use things like images and stuff like that to have you know, oh yeah, this is this person, just another way to identify it, right? But that, you know, that can be really handled in both ways. Yeah. Okay. Any questions about that client-side storage stuff? We'll dig more into it. So, okay. All right. So let's do it. Let's do some local storage stuff. All right. So local storage is basically like saying I'm going to save this information to this browser from this user, right? It's not tab. It is not tab agnostic, meaning like it doesn't care which tab you're in. Whereas session storage says this is exclusive to this tab. Okay, so that's the differences. So I want to first. I'm going to just dig into local, and I'm going to explain the difference between local and session in a second. I recently built 2 apps. One used local, one used storage sessions for completely different reasons, all for very good reasons, but on their own way. So I'll explain why I implemented one over the other in both situations as well. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's funny. I just loaded this up and I remember. All right. So I have a guest book here, right? And I'm remembering things. And look at this. It remembers this, right? So what happens when I come back to this page, do you think? I put in my name is what? But Virginia is the only one that got that. All right. All right. So then what happens when I come back to that page, do you think? It's a local storage. Do you think it's going to remember, or do you think it's going to be clear? Who thinks it's going to remember that I typed in my name is what? Raise your hand. Who thinks it's going to be empty? Raise your hand. So only half the class thinks it's going to be one. And the other class doesn't know. All right? Remembered it. Well, how? That's crazy, because all this other stuff we've done thus far wouldn't have never remembered that, right? Sure. Same thing. If I cleared this out, restart the browser, it would remember it. I have something else in here, so I don't. All right, fine. Yes. So I'll go here. I go in here. It's a new browser because it's a new window. Same thing. It remembers it. So let's take a look. So where is that stored? Where are we going to find that information? In the application tab, right? In the console log, there's a local storage and there's a session storage tab in Chrome. This information was stored at the key and a value pair, just like we're doing arrays and JSON objects, all that kind of stuff, right? It's stored the same way. So if I wanted to change this to some shady, right? My name is what? Does anybody get that? Or am I way too old? Okay. All right. So then if I hit refresh, who thinks it's going to say my name is what? Raise your hand. All right. If I hit refresh, who thinks it's going to say Slim Shady? Raise your hand. I can see. Okay. Everybody has to raise their hand on one. Who thinks it's going to say my name is what? Raise your hand. Maybe? Yes? It's okay. It's fine. Who says it's going to be Slim Shady? Raise your hand. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's find out. What? Slim Shady, right? So I was able to modify this. Thanks, guys. It's a long day. So yeah, so I'm able to store the key value pair right in there. That's pretty cool, right? Open up a new tab. Let's see if it's still there. Still there, right? It's persistent, right? What happens if I opened up Safari and typed in the URL? What would happen? Who thinks it would say Slim Shady if I opened up Safari? Raise your hand. Who thinks it would be blank if I open up a new browser? A new browser. All right, let's find out. Blank. Why? Who can tell me why? Raise your hand. Rob, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't know. Right? It doesn't know what the other browser is thinking, right? It's stored right there. It's stored within that browser. It's exactly right. So one advantage of storing stuff on the server side, right? Another advantage would be It doesn't matter what browser you're on. It doesn't matter what you're using. If you log on, you have some sort of authentication piece to it. You can tap into the back server, right? The backend server, the server side database. You pull your information up, show it up on any browser, any phone, any tablet, whatever. It doesn't matter. You always have your information, right? That's kind of the advantage of going that way. All right, that's fun. Cool. All right, why don't we do this? Let's do the open up the. Did we do the number 2 student sign on no persistence solution? The 2. Did we select that out already? I think we did, right? The solution, right? The number 2 no persistence solution. Okay. Awesome. If it's not, yeah, let's select it out. And now, as a group with our same like teams, let's rewrite it so it uses local storage. All right. Think you guys can handle it? No? Let's figure out how to do it, right? Maybe we talk about that first. Yeah, you guys got to catch me on that stuff today, man. Yeah, you guys are like, oh yeah, sure, we know how to. Okay, so let's take a look. This is what the syntax looks like. It's really, really easy, right? Session storage and local storage use the exact same syntax. I'll go over the differences in a little bit, but just remember that they use the exact same syntax. We're not going to learn anything crazy and unique. There's 3 things you need to remember with local storage and session storage. The same. Clear local storage, just like this. Really easy, right? Don't start working on that project yet. Cheaters. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. All right. You can set the name, right? Just like this. Name, value. Remember, name, Slim Shady, right? I can set it right in there, right? I can say this. So set item is the second thing, right? Third thing, get, right? Remember the setters and getters Nick was talking about a few weeks ago? The same thing, right? Clear, set, get. That's it. This is a good thing to write down. Notes, take it, or write some code, have this, so you can copy and paste this later on, right? Really easy. So what's going to happen every time that I refresh this page, or every time that I instigate a new click on my same name? Let's talk about it real quick. What's it going to do? I'm going to set it to nothing, right? I'm going to create a username based upon the value of a text box. All right. I'm going to clear what's currently in the local storage. This here is going to clear everything in the local storage, even if I have 30,000 different names, value pairs, right? Doesn't matter. It's going to clear it all. Okay. I'm going to set the name equal to what? What is username? Right. Whatever we type in the text box, right? And then we're going to set the text equal to the name that was typed in from the local storage. Hitting refresh wouldn't initiate this function, right? So it's still going to be there. This text box will still be there. Right? See it down here? So even outside of this function, it's going to set that greeting to that local text. So let's take a look one more time at the results. Sorry, guys, I just jumped into that. All right, so if we do name, see, it's clearing it. It's putting a new name, and it's setting it. It's getting it, right? So when I hit refresh, we know it's skipping all that stuff in that function, right? It's not doing the click. It's doing this right here. So we're just pulling that local storage item and putting it in the ID. How do you guys feel about this? I'd love to cover it more if not. If it's to 5, if it's 5, if it's 5. It's a 3. Okay, let me just. I just want to go one more thing. I just want to cover it just a little longer. What are we unclear about with this? I want to make sure I've kind of not gotten everybody. What's kind of tricky about it? Anybody want to volunteer something?
When
Why do I have green twice? Here and here? Good question. This one here is part of the function, right? So I'm replacing that greeting text when I click, right? This one here is just loading it when the page loads. There's no function that's initiating it, right? So when I go to the page and I just do a refresh, it's going to load that. This name is showing up. Oh gosh, that's confusing. Hold on. Let me go back here. Sorry. All right. When I hit refresh, memory. So where is that one coming? That specific one's coming from here. I didn't click on anything. This one's coming from there. When I type in a new name and I click it, it's happening here. It's initiating it right here. There's a million better ways to write this. I could have a function that handled it, and the same function could be here and here, and it could be a text. This is just kind of a simple way to do it, right? Just saying, there it is. More questions, guys? About that? Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you clear the storage.
No, and in fact, this is kind of a best practice thing, right? What do you think would happen if I didn't clear my local storage? Yeah. I mean, I'm setting it to something else. So technically, there's no real need to do it. It's just kind of a best practice. Look, I'm going to set, this is what I'm going to do, start using my local storage. Here it is. If you had a bunch of different triggers that were triggering different storage items that you're setting, maybe a name, maybe a phone number, maybe all this other stuff that was happening, you wouldn't want to clear this on every function because it would clear everything, right? So basically just replacing it and setting it. It's a really good question. Yeah. Yes. This is built in. Yes, that's a really good question. Yeah.
You have any attributes on it? Like anything.
Yes, very good question. Yeah, this is anything. It's just like an attribute, right? Or just like anything. It's a key value, just like an array, right? Or we can say this is anything, and this is any value. So yeah, very good question. Right. Yeah.
Are you able to save like this multiple values to one like, name? So
Yes.
You wanted like
Sure.
4 names?
Yeah. What if yes, very good question. I could store an array here, right? I could store a JSON item. I want to. Now, with that, I would need to stringify it. Who knows what stringify is? For some of us, right? There's a lot of different things you can do. You can stringify it, which means basically turn it into a string and then parse it out. I have an example of doing that later on today. So I'll show that too. More questions? I'm just kidding.
What does the browser support?
Oh, okay. Nick, do you want to tell us where?
Well, I think it's important.
No, I think it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm messing with it.
It's a browser-based tool, right? So you can't be certain that every version of every browser supports this. It's a big deal. If you write your application, you don't know in what version of which browser you use.
Right. Right. That's a very good point. This is a pretty mainstream thing. I haven't seen a lot of non-support for this in modern browsers. Having that said, yes, I'm sure, you know, IE 6 and 7 and 8 probably don't support it. That's probably something that would be a true thing. I don't know if it's real. But looking up, what's the website that shows browser support? It's called the .com.
Well, I just read it, sorry, browser support.
But there's a website that actually can look up every, I forgot what it's called. CanIuse.com, that's the one. That's cool. That one shows you a lot of different support. What version I use it?
For IE,
8. So that's pretty, if IE supporting it at 8, that means everybody else got it years ago. So that's totally, who's using IE in the class? Nobody, right? Hopefully. I'm going to offend people the rest of this whole program. Yes.
Even though it's true you're saying that, like very few of us are probably using IE,
Yes.
but we're not the primary audience.
We're not.
Applications. I used to work in public health.
Yeah.
Many of the people, huge portion of the audience
Right.
are on low versus high.
Right, and depending on your demographic as well is a big factor, right? Making decisions like this usually happen at a different level. At an architectural level, I know that some of the clients that I work on have a 5% IE usage, right? I know that. And I know that with the 5% usage that I get, that half of those are on 8 and lower, right? So it's, in making decisions like this, sometimes you have to go, hey, this is a really good function. It's going to support 95% of my users. Does that outweigh the functionality that I'm getting out of this piece? What am I going to do with the users that don't get this functionality? It's a business level decision. And when it gets down to the developer decision, it's kind of like, you know, we need to have a word in it, but a lot of companies don't support IE 8, 9 anymore. If you try to sign on with Amazon with IE 8 right now, it would tell you it's not supported.
The other thing I would just throw out there is that when we think of browser support, we think of the big guys, right? IE, Firefox, Chrome, Safari. You gotta remember there's a ton of mobile use out there. And a lot of platforms package their own built-in browsers, like Samsung.
Yeah. That's
so
right.
You can't just think about the big guys.
Right.
Remember that desktop usage is going down, and mobile usage is up.
Right.
So you're really designed for a mobile audience.
Oh yeah, and that's a good point. Like I said, a lot of stuff goes into this. You know, this one I'm not worried about. This support is pretty widely spread, and I've been developing applications with the local and session storage for a few years now. There's been no issues. We will run into stuff that isn't supported with older browsers, and that will affect your users. So thank you for bringing that up, Nick. Good point. All right. More questions about that stuff, guys? You want to jump in and do this? How many have already jumped in and started with this? All right. I'm going to give you guys like 10 minutes, and we're going to see if we can turn that sign-on page to a local storage, unless you guys have any other questions about this. I'll leave this up if you want. I think 2's already slacked out. What did? If you haven't, if you don't have 2, no, the sign in no persistent solution. Do you guys have that? Okay, you have it, right? Yeah, don't pay attention to this one. I'm sorry. Yeah, no. 2 is the one we want. Yeah, the original one.
So that one that I selected out right before Nick is the one you're going to make have local.
Yes.
You want to reference and copy paste that?
Yeah.
That one is right below.
Perfect. Yes. Yes. All right. You guys got it? Everybody okay with that? Clear? Cool.
Definitely do that in groups. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Well, so what we're saying is, like, in this case, this is persistent storage. So, like, in this case, we're really just writing the data to the text editor, right? But if you want to, but the problem is when you refresh the page, you lose all the data that was in it. You want to store it more permanently, you use local storage. So how can we apply this to this? How can we change this? So what I might suggest is that every time someone clicks on one of these things, we want to do basically line 56 for each of the items. You see how we have name, email, age, and comment? We might want to do local storage set item name is what the person typed in. That way we're setting a name attribute in local storage containing the name. You know. And then when you want to pull it out, of course, you do get item name, get item email, get item.
So all those lines.
Because yeah, for name, so you have a variable called name, right there, right? .val.trim. You would take that and put it in place of username, because you know that's where you're getting the name from, and you're writing it to a name attribute in local storage.
Say,
Yeah, which line? 56. So instead of username, you see this, you have a variable right here called name. Name gets the val of something whose ID is name input and trims it. So you put name there. Instead of username, you do name. Because name is the variable. Instead of name in quotes, you could leave it as name. That's just a, you can make, so think of local storage as like an Excel spreadsheet or something. And you got a column of the labels and then the values. And you can make any label you want. You can make a label called car and the value can be Audi. You can make a label called country and the value can be USA. You know, it doesn't matter. So you could say, instead of name, you could say first name or full name or my name or your name, whatever. That's arbitrary. You make it anything you want. Yeah. So you'll have 4 set items, right? One for each of your variables. You'll have a set item, name, exactly, right on top of it. Boom, 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 boom. That'll be how you separate that. Yes and no.
Yeah.
So there's that stuff.
Try to solve it. That sounds real.
Right. I don't know. That's just like that.
Yeah, a little bit. This is. Oh, yeah.
Are you busy? Is there other methods?
Thanks.
You're not.
Oh, no, I don't.
It's easy for certain reasons. So we're talking about that, but local storage stores and that. Why am I doing that? It functions on the application. So now for that session storage, right? Yeah.
I dreamt about it.
All right, guys, really quick power clap. All right, how are you guys feeling about this fist to 5? 5, awesome. Everybody's great? Awesome. What are some cool things we learned about that, or did we run into any things that we didn't like about that?
Why does sometimes pop up as null?
If it comes up as null, that means there wasn't a value to begin, right? Nothing was set to that. So a good way to offset that, right, would be to check for a null. If there wasn't one, set a blank instead, right? All right, hold on there. All right, guys, big power clap. All right. All right. Anything else you guys ran into about that with issues? Any other questions? Well, all right, fist to 5, who likes local storage and totally understands it? Well, all right. All right. All right, guys, so real quick, let's just go through it, right? When I type in a name, the first time I visit this page, look, it says no for another one. I happen to use the same storage value, right, on this page on this particular domain or whatever, for Slim Shady, right? So it knew that, but it didn't know any of the others, right? But if I typed in name, email, 35,
right here about is Google. Oops, Google name, name Google. We'll submit. Right now, that's that. Right, so that's going to be replaced by it anytime it comes in. Right, so that stores in your browser, right, in local storage. All right, do you guys have more questions about that? I want to make sure we understand this concept, right? The null, because they weren't set. If they weren't set to anything to begin with, they didn't know what they were going to be, right? There wasn't that value to begin with. It's a good question. Why is it not opening for me? Okay, so if I came in here, I believe I can just clear out those things individually. Let's take a look. If I came in here and said, I'm going to manually clear those out, I hit refresh, right? Doesn't know, has no idea. There's no name associated with that storage, so null would come up. Okay, there are more questions about that? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So I'm going to show you guys something real quick. I don't want to take too much time because we got to get a couple more things. But so I just built this. This is one example of where I use one number. I said I recently built one with one, not the other. All right, Pierre, you can help us with this one. So I just translated this application over to French, right? It was like a team effectiveness thing. It kind of says how well a team is of a board members are doing in a certain team. So they can say what weaknesses there are, strengths are of a board, right? This particular that is French, yes. Thank you, Pierre. No, you are the expert in this area, and I'm really glad.
I hope I never have to follow those. How did you translate that?
I didn't know a guy. Google. No, I'm just kidding. No, no. Actually, this wasn't.
It's understandable, but the French.
Is it bad? I don't know because we went to a professional guy. I wouldn't know the difference. Oh, that's a bad sign.
But you know that an American person wrote.
I swear that we hired the guy to do it. It wasn't even Google Translate.
The French would say that the French are the Spanish guy.
Oh, you know what? And this. But hold on. So
That's fine.
Pierre, in all fairness, this is from Montreal.
Oh, this is that.
Oh yeah.
Ah. All right. So I can say that. So this is an example where I use local. So an advantage of me using local storage is I didn't need to set up a database or anything to handle the data, right? They could go, this whole thing is just one page, right? It's going to load. My answers are going to load based off of what I load of all these settings. I can show you here. Let's take a look what I'm doing. You guys totally can understand what's happening here. Right? Every time I'm clicking on an answer, I'm storing the answer with an array, right? With what? What is this called? An index, right? So each time it's actually storing this. The issue that they were having with this mobile, the mobile version of this was the fact that people were losing their internet connections. And they didn't have stable internet all the time. So when they come back to the website, it wasn't working, or it had to load the next page, and there was always this weird persistence. But now, when it loads the page, the entire page loads at once. I don't care what their internet is. And in fact, at the very end of this application, I have a JavaScript that checks for your internet connection and says waits for you to connect to your internet. Once you're connected to your internet, you could submit the answers. So this is where local storage is very helpful, right? Storing all of it. I don't care what tab you're in. I don't care any of that stuff. I just want to get your answers. When you're ready to submit it, put it out the door. Does that make sense? No. No. Yeah, no, not at all. But you like this beer? What, you having a good time? Can you? So.
I hope you're not having that.
Well, I maybe Montreal isn't good. I don't know. Yes, this is going for a lot of people.
I run translation for 5 years and I can't keep that. These would have gone to crash. It's a really, yeah.
Well, maybe the English version is better. I hope. No, don't. I take no offense. Don't worry. I did not.
No, there is no offense.
No. Okay. No, I totally. Yeah, I totally. So I mean, at this level we're at right now, guys, you could build this application. I mean, there's no reason. These are divs that are hiding and showing, right? It's all one page. I'm storing all this stuff right now in the local session. So, yeah, you guys have more questions about this? Because this is kind of a cool, fun example. Anything? Outside of translation? Anybody? That's cool. So, yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to show that, so I'm glad we had a good reason to do that. Let's see. Sorry, we got to go on a break real soon. I just want to cover. Let's talk about. I'm going to talk about these other two things, and then we're going to go into a storage session example, and I'll pull my own professional example of that as well, and we can discuss how that's used. So, local storage, right? It's a 5 to 10 megs. I believe it's 10. I don't know why this is 5 here in this example, but it's not session-based. It'll need to be deleted using JavaScript as well, right? Or clear it out, okay? What does that mean? As you guys saw, we have that clear function. That's the only way we're going to be able to get rid of that function unless we manually do it like I did right in the browser, right? Client-side reading only, right? And then less older browsers support. So per Nick's suggestion, there isn't a lot of older browsers that can handle it. Session storage. So this one is based on a working tab, right? So remember how we were able to pull up one tab and then pull up another, and there it is, great. Open another browser window, there it is, terrific, everybody's happy, right? Session storage doesn't do that. It is per tab, it is per window, right? So where would be an example that you guys could think of that you would need to use something like that, like a session storage as opposed to local? This is a hard question. What would be any example of that you guys could think of? Yeah, go ahead, Chuck. Do something else? Yeah, sure. That's good. That's good. Sorry. Yeah, it's good. Sorry. You got anything else you guys would think of that? Any example? Any other examples? Yeah. Job application. So why would I need a different tab to not save my answers as opposed to just saving my answers in a local storage? Yeah, it's a case situation, right? Knowing these two and how they function is really it really depends on what kind of application it is. So I'm going to show you guys a professional application that's actually using session storage instead of local storage for a very good reason. All right, so this is also something that I'm working on one of my clients as well. It's in English. There'll be no problems with Pierre. All right, so I'm female. Sorry, guys. All right, so in this example, right, I'm pulling a life insurance quote. Okay, so I'm saving this information based in a session. You guys see this? All it's down here, building that information. Now, if I open up a new tab based on the same thing, because it's a session as opposed to a local, right? What happens? Has no idea. Doesn't exist. There's no birth date. There's no anything, right? Doesn't remember it. So the reason why I coded this way is that someone can open up multiple tabs, right? They can run life insurance quote on themselves and their wives and their dads and their mothers and have a separate persistence based upon their tabs. Right? You guys see why you want to do that, right? Maybe you just want to have two windows side by side and they're running two different quotes and you want to see, okay, this one came up as this one came up as that. Maybe come back to that. So this would be an ideal situation for this. If I stored the session server-sided, right, I wouldn't have that type of persistence, right, in any sense. Because anytime I refresh this page, it would use my server-side storage, just like it would use like local storage. You guys see the advantages both ways? Yeah. Question? Yeah. It remembers it? It's either using a server-side session, which would be handled on the server, which you wouldn't be able to see or control, right? Or it's held in local storage. Yeah, depending on the situation, right? After you get to a certain point in this application as well, the storage is handled differently because it's a little more secure and there's other questions that need to be handled on the server. We'll get kind of into that later on, but that's a good question. All right, I'm gonna let you guys. Shoot. I'm gonna come back to this after the break. So let's just take a quick break, and we'll just call it back at 8:30. All right, big power clap. Well, there are a number of things that actually
Yeah.
Okay. Let's. I guess. Yeah, it's web worker. So. For like. So then you actually want to go to school, like, with the next step.
Whoa.
I like that.
Oh. Yeah.
Was it showing the?
This is full. Those, it's like regular.
Don't you have a set interval for the?
So if you're.
So that function itself.
These are all.
What if instead of doing a set interval, we just said how? That function. Instead of being so the that's what I do. Then, yeah. So. Oh, so it's called functional. Yeah. Your values. You have to work, obviously.
You're still seeing. And I'm like, it shouldn't happen. I get water. I'm like, that's pretty.
That's what I know.
Yeah, I have to.
They don't use it.
I have one couple there's in front. Yeah, he's the first one to say Yeah, the thing is that we should not take it as an
very serious problem. I can do that. والله بجيب
But it's a good find. You can let the team.
You say it's not your job? There you go.
All right, guys, big power clap. All right. All right. All right, so let me just go over this again real quick. What would be the main difference by raise of hand between a local storage and a session storage? Raise your hand if you know the answer. Come on, I got more hands up than this. More hands, Steve.
Yeah, okay. Storing something locally is stored in the browser. It will remain if you close the window. And either session storage is just for the specific session, in other words, how long the window is open, or just for while that window is open.
Right. All right, did everybody hear that? Did everybody get that? Okay. Local storage is going to be across the browser. Doesn't matter if you care. The only way to kill it is by killing it in JavaScript or clearing out your temporary files and that kind of thing here too. Your storage session is obviously going to be only persistent to the tab of the window that it's in. Okay, and those two examples that I used. It's really important to be able to distinguish the two of them, but you will rarely use one over the other. Okay, so we're going to get into cookies. Who knows what a cookie is? Raise your hand. Not the kind you eat. Who's heard of cookies before? Who's heard the word I'm using cookies? Right? I met a truck driver like 10 years ago, and nothing against him, but this is my field, and he was able to describe to me what a cookie was, and like 10 years ago, and I was like, well, how it's a common thing, right? People know that cookies live on their machine, and they know that they help identify who the user is or what the user has done based upon the websites that they go to, right? So Really, really cool thing about cookies, and I'm gonna get into this. Two really cool things. Older browsers definitely support cookies. Like everybody knows what a cookie is and know how to handle it, right? Every single browser. If you're using a browser that doesn't know what a cookie is, IE2 maybe, I don't know. It's probably 1989. So I mean, we can forget about the user for now. Okay, so the awesome part about cookies, and I don't want to get too much into this, but this is how I use cookies. What's beeping? Am I beeping? Are you beeping? You're usually the one beeping. So I can use client-side and server-side cookie together, right? I can initiate a cookie in JavaScript, create the cookie, say my name is what, Slim Shady as a cookie, right, in JavaScript. And then if I have a server-sided language, I can call that same cookie using my server-side, my back-end side of it. So this is how I use cookies the most. There's a client-side version that I can pull and a server-side version, and I can use them intermittently. Don't worry too much about the specifics, although no, it's very flexible in how you can use cookies. Right. You know what? Before I dive into this, this is an example of how we can use local storage with JSON. I just kind of wanted to show this quick, right? So if we set up, you guys recognize the JSON.stringify? Remember us? We covered this last Wednesday. Stringify, right? You can have a string, a JSON string, and I can store that in the setup. This is just kind of an example of how we do it. How we set user, right, as in a JSON stringified version, right? This is how it parts it out. So remember the syntax. It's nothing we're getting too far yet, but I just want you guys to see it. Nothing we have to know how to do today. Of course, what does localStorage.clear do? What does localStorage.clear do? It's about everything in your local storage. What does sessionStorage.clear do? About everything in the session. That's right. Okay. All right, guys. So one of the issues we're going to run into with the rest of the class today is going to be cookie handling, right? So I wrote C is for cookie, but not for Chrome. Okay. Chrome does not allow me to do static non-deployed HTML pages and handle cookies. What that means is how we're currently using HTML files, we can't create cookies and set them. So we have to use a not as good browser to do that, right? You have to use Safari or some Firefox to handle that. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. So we're going to have to kind of switch gears just for the cookie. Once you have this in a real world environment, like if probably Git pages would be fine to set cookies, use cookies, that kind of thing. And obviously anything that was hosted outside of our own static versions. Even if we had a local host running our own machine, it would be okay with running these cookies. It's just not how we currently are using HTML files. But don't worry, cookies are not used for the homework. That will be fine. So, okay. Okay, so let's talk about it. Why are there advantages to using cookies? What do you guys think? Why, as a website, why would I want to have cookies? Why would I want to use them? And remember, right? So cookies act just like the local storage session does in a sense, where I'm storing a file as a cookie that has a value, right? It has a key value pair, just like a local storage does, right? In a sense, it's virtually the same thing. Okay. Like I said, the advantage of going with a cookie outside of local storage is the fact that I can use it between server-sided and client-sided, right? So I could write something server-sided, and that would be able to interface with
the client side part. Important to know that. All right, so let's take a step back. Let's do this. No, you know what? No. Sorry, I got a better idea. I'm going to show some cookie stuff. All right. So this function is funny because when I was running a JavaScript function to read the cookies that I wrote in the server-sided application, and I had to read it in client-side application, I copied this exact function from the web. So this isn't anything you guys have to read too much into. The person that wrote this example copied and pasted this from the exact same place I copied and pasted it from. So don't worry too much about the syntax in here. I'm not going to waste time getting into it. It isn't necessary for this. Just know that this function can read a cookie. Okay? Like I said, I copied and pasted it. This person copied and pasted it. It's not important for this particular lesson. But how we use cookies is, right? So this is the syntax we're looking at, right? This one right here, the document.cookie sets the expiration date of the cookie to 1970. I do that because I wanted to expire that cookie that was set, right? This particular cookie up here would expire any previous document cookie, I'm setting a name of a cookie right here, right? Same thing, document.cookie is kind of is a syntax that's used for this, right? Reading the cookie is based upon this function up here, so I'm able to read the cookie and display it. So we'll see what this looks like in a second. Right? All I'm doing is reading it, seeing what it is. Let's take a look at what this looks like. And I'll show you guys where the cookie is. And like I said, I don't want to get too much into the weeds because I can on any one of these issues. So I'm just going to cover what's important and relevant to this class. I use edit this cookie, which is a fantastic tool to handle cookies on your machine. Not relevant to this class is another way to do it. So we're going to do it. I'm not going to do it in Chrome. Why am I not going to do it in Chrome? All right. Just making sure you guys listen. All right. So I'll do this in Safari. Oops, I already have a cookie. Right. All right. So where is this stored? Is this stored in my Git local? Right? No, probably not, right? Where is it stored? Oh man, now I have to learn Safari quick. There it is, yeah. All right. All right. So if I was it Web Inspector? Did I go the wrong one? Gosh, I'm super at a loss of how to, oh wait, hold on. Okay, so it's not my local storage, right? But Slim Shady must live somewhere because anytime I refresh this, and even when I opened up the page, it existed, right? It's not in my session storage. It's not my local storage. So it has to live someplace else. How do you access cookies in Safari? That's a mystery. Does anybody know offhand? All right. Privacy? Would it be local though? I don't know. Have you guys seen Advance? Oh, okay. What are you guys seeing? Yeah. I'm just trying to see if I can do it through the browser. There's a way to do it, right? I don't want to. Yeah, I'm there. All right. Liar, there's no cookies triangle. Is there? Where do you see it? What's this? Right. So okay. So it says go in the web inspector and do what? Oh wait. Here it is. Ah, dang. All right. Well, shoot, that's no fun. I don't see it. Shoot. All right. Well. Anyway, I guess. Yeah. I mean, well, okay. So, in proper browsers, yeah. Well, this is. Yeah, I just don't know why it's not showing up there. All right. Well, we'll come back to it then, I guess. Yeah, it is also being stored into we can bring up the file, I suppose. Let's do that. You all right? Yeah. All right. Be careful your phone, man. The iPhone 5, we don't want to kind of spill some water on that sucker. That's vintage. All right. All right. So okay. So where if I'm going into the file structure, where is it, Nick? The file. If I'm. Uh-huh. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh yeah. All right. Let's see if we can open it. Oh, it's binary. Okay, so we'll be able to look at it anyway. That sucks. All right. Well, there it is. See, it says Slim Shady. You guys should all be able to read binary by now. Yeah. It's just. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well. You're gonna make me. God, Nick, you know how to expand scope more than anyone I've ever met. Like you have this uncanny ability. You go over one slide, it'd take you like 3 hours. Okay, yeah, yes. Okay, so what are you saying? We should try to convert this to binary to all right. If after class anybody wants to see a binary to text, we'll do that together. That'll be fun for everybody. All right, let's just. I'm just teasing. You know that. All right. So anyway, it is being stored as a cookie on the machine. Chrome has a lot of awesome tools for it, but I use edit this cookie anyway because it helps me work with it in a nicer layout. So see this little cookie up here? This is nice. It actually shows like all the cookies that are available on the site. I can edit them. I can actually add them. I can do all that stuff within that plugin. So in Chrome, there's a really nice plugin called Edit This Cookie, and that's what I use. Doesn't mean you can't do it with Safari, but obviously it's just a little trickier. All right. So, gosh, I want to cover a little bit more with that. Then let's discuss it. I want to make sure I don't miss anything with that piece. Okay. All right, now I'm all flustered. Okay, so storing the document cookie right here, right? I set the name. So if we were able to look at the cookie, which unfortunately we cannot, we'd see the name and we'd see the value just like we're doing in our other key value type pairs, right? The advantage, the difference, one of the differences is the fact that I can set an expiration to it, right? So let's say I wanted to hold a cookie only for 30 days. Right? Somebody logged in, I want to remember their username. I could set it and say, okay, 30 days from today, I'm going to have this cookie. Anytime after that, that cookie is expired, it no longer can be. Does that make sense? Kind of a nice advantage of having it set up this way. Okay. This, of course, is being set to epoch time, EPOCH. Epic. What does that mean? What is that? Does anybody know? Just off for this fun fix. What is January 1st, 1970? 0000. What is that? Why? What a weird date to pick up. Does anybody know what that is? Huh? New York time, right? That's technically Unix was developed in the 70s after this, but this is what they use as the start of time. So, and I believe 1969, 23, 59, 59, 9 was 0. This would be the 1 second. I believe that's right. I have to check into it. But it's kind of interesting because you'll see a lot of conversion tools. You'll get into a lot of that where you're taking time that comes from the Unix time and converting it into our time. That's a clock that's continuously going, usually in seconds. So it's kind of an interesting thing. If you guys want to see it, gosh, I'm diverting. All right, real quick. Just so you guys can see it. All right. So this is the current time right here. That's how many seconds have been after January 1st, 1970. And that's what the number looks like. You can convert that to today's date. Human date? I never heard that in Revelation, but any day we want to say, right? As opposed to computer date, I guess. That's fun. So yeah, for you guys, if that's interesting, I don't know, it's kind of fun. So using the example, I guess, let's see if I want to show some more examples of this. Okay. So I want to cover this again because I think I went over it really, really fast. This is setting the cookie, right? I'm setting the cookie. The name of the cookie right here is name, right? The value of the cookie is username. Does that make sense? All this is doing is setting the name. I can also set other things. I can set the name equals this, semicolon, expires equals this date, right? You can run into some issues with that if you don't have that date format exactly right. Don't worry about the expiration for now. All we're going to do is write a cookie based on time this, right? So just if you think about it, if you're thinking about it, like, okay, how did I set that login page, right? How did I use that with the local session? I did local session dot set item, right? And I said name, and I said value, right? Same thing, name value. This is the same thing, name equals value. Syntax is a little different, right? But that's what you should be thinking. Notice the semicolon here, right? You're ending that. The reason we're doing that, not necessary for this, but best practice says you may be adding another parameter to this. You might be adding more to this. So it's just kind of ending it there. Okay. An example of this, we're reading the cookie up here. Like I said, I think this will be supplied in the next example, so don't worry about it. All this is doing is taking whatever cookie name is supplied to it, and we're able and spitting out the result of it. It's finding the cookie on the machine and displaying it. That's all it's doing. All right, questions about that? It's a real high level. We'll get more into detail after the example. You guys are kind of quiet. You think you got it? This is 5. 4s, 5s. Okay. Honestly, I know I'm trying to oversimplify. That's really all it is. A document.cookie, the name of the cookie, the value of the cookie. That's it. This is, don't worry about that as much. And this is just clearing out the name, cookie name equals setting it to nothing, setting the expiration date to a time in the past, and then we're resetting it again to the name cookie. All right? How you guys feel now? Just a 5, 5, 5, 5, 4, 5, 6. I don't. So what are some questions that are running into? You think? It's almost like more storage, but we did with the name of it, comma, value, where the name equals value. It's the kind of concatenation thing, right? So it's really similar, except for just we're not going name comma value, we're doing name equals value in this sense. Right? That means you guys know the difference now? Can I see it? Syntax is slightly different. All right, how we all feeling? Just 5. Better? Okay. All right. Let's do this then in our groups that we signed up with originally. We did that, didn't we? Oh, we didn't do that. Let's do this. Oh, no, I don't want to do that yet. Hold on. I don't want to do that yet. Let's do this. Let's do that review sign-on again that we just did with the local storage. Let's do that sign-on again with using a cookie. So this will be you know what? How about we Slack out this? No, let's Slack out this. Let's Slack out 7. Do you have access to the main folder? Is there a non-solution in there? Let's Slack out 7 anyway with the solution, just so they can see the copy and paste the syntax. And then yes, let's do exactly what you're saying. You know what I'm saying?
Just like
Right, which was 2, right? Number 2. So using the solution number 2 that we did, what we're trying to do is say, hey, we had took this non-persistent session, we built this sign-on form, then we took it, made it persistent locally, you know, and put it on a sign-in form. Now we're going to take it again, put it in the cookie. All right? You guys get it? With me? Okay.
that's more relevant to like research.
Sure. Yes.
There's ever a chance that this could be very critical
Oh.
about what you do. I haven't had a lot of lawsuits yet.
Yeah. I received a bunch of emails. How many of you received their emails about that? Like
Everyone's been getting all the notices.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to do exactly with storing personal PII and how they're handling it, right? Whether you're storing in a cookie or anywhere, right? Yeah. Yeah, you and Nick need to get together. No, I'm just kidding.
So you could try to. That's going to be you're in a work situation. You're saying how many stores you have. Temporarily. What the fuck? So make sure you get it. You're in that meeting. Say, I think better to be sure that it's not safe. That's my expectation. You'll be the one that. Yeah.
Okay, so since we don't have a ton of time, I'm just going to whip through this one real quick, just so we all understand what's going on. And I want to move on to the next activity, which uses the same thing. So I want to make sure we understand this, okay? You guys all with me? Big power clap? Okay. So in the examples of where I did the session.get item, in those examples, I'm replacing those, I'm sorry, get set item. I'm doing the same thing here, right? I'm taking the document.cookie, name equals the name, right? Document.cookie email equals name. These are all individual cookies that are being set. What? You have this face, I can't read your. Okay, so this is gonna set 4 cookies on my machine, right? Is there a better way to do this? Absolutely. For this example, this is how we're doing it. We're gonna set 4 cookies on a machine, just like we did set item. Name cookie, email cookie, age cookie, a comment cookie, right? And then when I'm gonna read them, which is the same as the get item, right? Right? Local session get item, right? Session storage get item. I'm going to use read cookie. So if you think about it like this, we're just doing the same thing within a different syntax. So instead of using the session storage, right, the local storage, we're doing it with cookie. All right, so what do we cover today? Local session, session storage. Now we're using cookies. This is how the syntax looks when you're setting a cookie. This is how it looks like when you're reading a cookie. All right, with that specific function that I pointed out earlier at the top, right? Which I said is basically just copy and paste. Somebody figured out how to read a cookie in JavaScript, and that's how it looks like. All right. So do you guys understand that this syntax is different than the set and get? Yeah, fist of 5. All right. All right. Cool. Yeah, this is all it is. There isn't really too much to it. It's we're concatenating this string in here. If we wanted to add additional things to this cookie, we could. You can add expiration date, right? You could add whether it's secure or not based upon your host. You can also set whether it's a HTTP cookie only. There's a lot of different parameters you can use within a cookie. Like I said, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but I could. There's a lot of great things about cookie that we can use. For this example, we're setting a name and a value. All right, you guys with me? Cool. All right, I'm gonna make sure everybody's a 5 on this. This is just a syntax will change. All right, who's a 5 on it? You're not a 5, but honestly, I'll cover it. Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna partner up for the rest of the class, but do not leave until we go over this very, very final thing. All right, so we're going to use, that's weird. Okay, could you Slack out 8? Did I provide 8? Oh, I'm sorry, no, let's not do that. Don't do 8. I don't want to do that. I want to do, yeah, I want to do 1. The solution to 1 that we sent out earlier. I think you got I think everybody has it already. All right, so that's it's like a 1, right? Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to use a working example, right? We're going to use local storage to create data persistence. Okay, so one person's going to do the typing again, okay, and the other members of the group are going to supervise the type role. Work on it together, okay? Look at the instructions within the page as far as what we're going to do is create an additional array of to-dos that can help keep adding items like we did, right? So we're going to selectively delete array elements using this working concept properly. So what the goal is to create a singular array or singular JSON object to use and handle the same thing that we were doing before within local session, not individually, but within an array. All right? Hard. It says it right there. Don't freak out. All right. Let me just walk through some examples. All right. All right. Do you guys see down below what I'm doing here? Can you guys see the how this particular thing is set up? Go. No. Okay. Yes. Go home. All in wrong order. Okay. So what we're going to do is basically we're going to store all this within one name, right? You guys can see what's happening here, right? We're using an array instead of using individual key value pairs within a storage session, right? You guys kind of see what this looks like and how to do it, how to emulate it, if you like. Within this, we're doing the same thing. Whenever we're just clearing out individual items in that array. So for this exercise, like I said, it's a little tricky, right? But we're gonna do things like selectively delete array elements to get this working. Right? When you try to use things like splice, we're gonna see how I say, okay, I cleared out this item. Which item in the array did I clear out? Right? How does the computer know that I picked out the second item in this array? Right? Get gas. How does it know that I picked get gas or get home? Right? Within the array. So think about it, write it down, work with a partner. Man, I got to give you guys like 10 minutes just to play around with it. If you don't get it, don't worry about it. We'll just walk through it. So let's just do our best. Okay, so it's using an array, right? Or it's using JSON. Technically, in this example, what we want to do is create the array, convert it to JSON, and then pull it out, right? So we're storing it in that way selectively. So think we're going to use arrays. We're using JSON. Okay, we're going to use things like splice. We're going to use things like stringify. It's all here. Okay, how you guys feeling about this one? No? No good? I'll tell you what. Here's what we'll do. I'll give you 5 minutes just to look on it on your own, just to do your best. Figure out how you would save your individual to-do list in this manner, and then we'll walk through it as a class and discuss it line by line, okay? All right, let's do that just for 5 minutes. All right, guys. Sorry, I know I didn't give you a ton of time with that, but let's just walk through. Do you want to really? All right. Let's do a big power clap, guys. All right. Cool. I really believe that a lot of us could get through this with no problem on our own, but I think it's helpful to walk through it and just do it together as well. So, all right, let's talk about it. All right, so let's review real quick. So obviously a good way to handle this, or a good way to use this or think about it, would be to first do pseudocode, right? What are we trying to accomplish? How are we trying to do it? So writing that out in pseudocode is my very first step, right? So we know we're collecting data, right? We know we're going to try to use a single source. The reason we're doing this, right, obviously long term, is that we can store this. We can create a cookie called to-do list that can have several values, right? We could do that. For this example, we're just going to use local storage, but we could do that, right? So we didn't need to have a cookie for name and for age and for comment and for email. We could probably just say profile information or something like that, right? So in a cookie. So, right, that's why this is, okay? But the what it is basically we're creating a to-do list, we're setting a bunch of values, and we're going to pull out each individual one. So let's take a look. When I click on the when I click on or select, add something to the to-do list, what does that look like? Okay, let's take a look. We see it added. We see that it made an entry here. Let's take a look. Okay. Okay. So does anybody know what this did here? What's JSON.parse? Don't worry about what the value is. What's JSON.parse? Right? Yeah. All we're doing is we're taking the information from the string and returning it into JSON and parsing it out. So this specific information, basically turning the to-do list into something that's usable, right? So it's a little tricky, right? But what are we doing? If it's not in this array, right? We're creating, well, all right, first things first. We're setting the to-do list to empty, right? What does that do? Clears out the HTML. There's nothing in it, right? Then we're creating this, right? Which is acting as what? What is inside list? Close. How many thinks it's an array? How many thinks it's an object? Right now, this is an array. Right now, it's an array. Right? Notice it's confusing, guys, but we took the JSON piece of it, we parsed it out, and made it an array. That's what this function does. Don't worry about memorizing it. I don't want to hold you guys over because I know it's confusing. Just remember, if I need to take information from it, from the JSON list, I'm going to parse it out, create an array. What this is going to do is give you the individual indexes, right? Inside list 1, 0, inside list 1, inside list 2, right? All of those things, right? So I'm going to step down to the bottom where we're actually populating it. Man, this is tricky. Okay. Okay, so now we're pushing this value that's in that text right in there. Okay, so there's a list function, our list array, right? We're setting the to-do list, which is the name of our local storage item, and that's stringifying the array. So there's two things that are happening, right? One, we're taking the JSON, turning it into array. The other one is taking the array, turning it into JSON, right?
right here, we're turning it, taking the JSON and making it available to use within the local storage, right? We can't just store JSON within local storage or within a cookie or with anything as an object. We have to turn it into a string. That's what stringify does. You guys ever kind of covered it a little bit on Wednesday, last Wednesday? Okay. And obviously we'll put it on page button and see what that does. That should be pretty simple. Okay. That's where we're clearing out the to-do list, which I'm assuming is a bit up above, right? Creating the inside list. Check to see if we have anything to do in the local storage. If we do, we're setting the local inside list variable to our to-do. Okay? Otherwise, we're going to set the local inside list parameter to an empty parameter. So it's saying, hey, if there's nothing in here, we're just going to do an inside list. Nothing's in there. Okay? So now we're going to do that for it. Now, you guys obviously all know this one. We cover this a lot, right? We're going to loop through this new array that we created from that JSON object, right? And we go, okay, for each one of these, create a paragraph, create a button, append it. That's why it was adding above it, right? If I did append, what would it do? Below it, right? Okay. All right. What are we doing here, guys? Clicking on the button, the delete button, right? See what it does. Okay, we're going to do the same thing as we did before. We're going to pull that to-do list. Okay, and the current index, which is this, which is the button that was clicked, right? You guys remember this? Remember how that works? We're going to pull out what from that? Oh, yeah, which is a what? That's attribute, right? Right? We're going to pull that out and go, okay, what are we going to do with that? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the code now, just to make sure we're all on the same page. We're going to splice it. But hold on. Sorry if I'm hosing through this really fast, guys. I just want to make sure we're see what's happening. I want you guys to be able to look at this exercise later and kind of be like, okay, kind of understand what's happening. This is kind of good. Okay, so we're setting that data index to 1, and that's what we're using when we delete, right? We're pulling that. You can see it right there. Right? Let's see. Okay. So it's getting our current index of whatever item that we're deleting. Okay? And then we're using splice for an index. Who can tell me what they think splice does? Yeah, go ahead. It, right? Nothing else to it. It really is. Parameter, I believe, is just the one item. I'm not sure what the second. Okay, so starting with this index, how many items are removed? Okay, so it's a syntax we'd have to look up. I'd have to look it up, but that's essentially what it's doing. If I'm erasing index 1, splicing out index 1, it's only going to take out 1. If I had 3 in there, it would take out 3. All right, this isn't something you expected to memorize. Just be familiar with it. Go, okay, that's how I pull something out. Okay, so I'll let you guys look at this example later. I got to move on to the next piece, and we can discuss after class. Obviously, office hours if you guys want to go over more of that stuff. It doesn't have too much to do with the storage stuff, so that's why I'm not digging too much into it. It's more of applying other things that we learned into this example. So, all right. Right. All right. So there is a. I'm not sure when this homework is due. Do you know, Kristen? Have you ever heard of the train time homework? Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm not too familiar with the schedule. But what we're going to do is we're going to store. What's that? Do you have it? So we know. Okay. But,
25th? Okay, so we got a little while, but basically what we're going to do is 2 weeks. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a train, right? First train time. It's military time. And it's 60 minutes. All right. Soul train. So you can see. So somebody already did Soul Train. Man, what? Anyway. So yeah, what we're going to do is do a train schedule. We'll select out the instructions for that homework, or it's probably available in the GitLab. I wish I knew more about that. I don't know. It'll be available. Read the instructions. Basically, what we're going to do is we see train schedules based on the current time. So if the time expires, then you won't see that train any longer, that kind of thing. You want to be able to let the user specifically, specify a time and the name of the train, and it'll pass by. So it's actually not that complicated. We're going to use a lot of the stuff that we did today. There is a complicated version of the homework, and I'll let you guys determine which one you want to use. But I think every one of us in this class could do this right now using set and get storage items, right? That's essentially all you're going to do, right? You want to be able to set it and see it. Don't worry about using server-sided stuff now. We can just use a local. By the end of this week, you're going to know how to store this somewhere other than your local machine and local browser. But since we're introducing homework at this stage, I don't see why you couldn't use local client-side stuff. Basic questions about that? Anybody? All right. Okay, cool. All right, so we're out of time. But if you have time before our next class, just kind of do a little bit of an introduction into Firebase on your own. Okay, it's a good URL to remember. Just kind of a little bit of familiarity with it. Come to class with questions. You have them. But we're going to be going into Firebase on Wednesday, and I'd like you guys to have some bit of like previous experience into it. Don't spend more than 20 minutes. We're going to cover it all in class, but just to get a basic understanding of it. Now that you understand how local session storage cookies are kind of like save your computer and be used, this kind of takes it to the next level and stores it off server-side instead of client-sided. Okay. How are you guys feeling? 5 to 5? Sorry about that last part. Kind of running through everything. That's really unrelated. Okay, let me ask you this before we go. How many understand local storage session? How to set a local storage session? 5 to 5. Okay, how many understand how to set a session storage session? 5 to 5. It's the same as local, just session local to a time. To make you feel better. Yeah. All right. How many know how to set a cookie? How to set a cookie? And by memory, how do you set a cookie? Anybody? Equal, right? The document dot cookie name equal name of cookie equals what? Value, whatever, right? Okay, good. All right. I think that's all we covered today. Okay. What are we covering tomorrow or Wednesday? All right, guys. All right, see you guys. Big power clap at the end. Damn. Oh, okay. They're slacking out the homework stuff now, then.